Over the past 2 weeks, the Northern European region has been gripped with headlines of infrastructure damage in the northern Baltic Sea region and the Gulf of Finland, from the Balticconnector natural gas pipeline to the FEC telecommunications cable between Estonia and Finland, and the EES-1 telecommunications cable between Sweden and Estonia. Damage sites have been seen throughout all three of these infrastructure projects, and investigators continue to scour the seas for who might be to blame. Hi, my name is Benjamin L. Schmitt. I am a senior fellow at the Center for European Policy Analysis, and I'm also a senior fellow at the University of Pennsylvania's Kleinman Center for Energy Policy, and I have been looking for the past 2 weeks at this issue set, and the reason for that is the harrowing echoes that this has to last year's events in the Baltic Sea, when the Nord Stream 1 and 2 natural gas pipelines had exploded, still under investigation and unexplained. The need for European energy security is important now as it is ever, and if there were ever a region that has focused on this, and in particular the intersection between military security and energy security issues, it's the Nordic-Baltic region. This is a set of countries that have been laser focused, both inside and outside of the NATO alliance, to the need for critical infrastructure protection and the need for maritime security in the Baltic Sea. So what we have seen are multiple vessels that have been seen on public AIS open source data that were at or near the scene. Well, the investigations continue in Finland, Estonia, and Sweden, and it's still unclear who is to blame for this and whether it was intentional or an accident. It seems clear that this was a man-made incident, and it also seems clear that there were vessels that were at the scene of the damage site that are seen in open source AIS data that may be leads in this. This includes Russian vessels and Chinese vessels at all three of the sites. And we've also seen open source data in AIS data that shows that there were vessels that were at both the investigation sites of the Balticconnector pipeline project and at the investigation sites of the Nord Stream blast last year in October of 2022. And finally, media has shown that there were multiple reportedly Russian intelligence gathering vessels in and around the Balticconnector pipeline and the adjacent cables that were damaged in July, August, and September of this year. This includes the Russian vessel Sibiryakov and the Admiral Vladimirsky. It still is unclear who is to blame for this, whether it was a state actor or a commercial entity, but it seems clear that NATO's increased focus on infrastructure protection is certainly merited and something that needs to be continued in the alliance's security strategy going forward. No more can energy security be a nice to have. It must be a must have in terms of transatlantic security, in terms of alliance security, especially in the Nordic and Baltic region. This is why it's so important that NATO has now taken infrastructure protection so seriously, especially in the maritime environment. There are cells that have been stood up at NATO headquarters that are looking at this, and we need to make sure that we bring all the tools of the alliance to bear.